Hello, crochet crafters. So I'm making holiday stockings 2022, and I have many videos about how to make these. There's 3 component parts: the top, either the cuff. This one doesn't have a cuff, this just has a fringe, but I have 3 different ways to make a topper. Then I make the body of the stocking, and I have several different ways to do that. And then we make the booty, the foot and the heel, the toe and the heel part rather. And if you can mix and match, you can mix and match any of my videos. I'm using a Craftsmart value yarn in a 4 medium, and it is machine wash, and this color is Ivy. And I'm going to use a smaller one that I already have. And I use the Ivy, this was the Emerald, but I'm going to illustrate a point. We're not making this, but this is a single crochet working in the back loop, but it's working rows of 42 and then stitching up. It's the same stitch as this, and you're going to go, wow, I don't believe that. So if you're not a crocheter, you're not going to believe it, but we're working in the round for this one. So by working in the round, if you notice, by working in the round, that I'm working this back stitch all the way around and never, having a back seam. So you can work 42 stitches in a round. What you do is you just, however many stitches you want for your stocking, then you slip stitch, and then you just keep working in the round. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to do a cuff without having to attach it. So I want to do an emerald green cuff on this Craftsmart wine, but and this is the top of my particular stocking. But here's the deal. I'm not going to already do my cuff. I'm going to make my cuff while it's on here because I want to work in the round. Now you might say to me, Lori, why don't you just continue working in the round? Here's the deal. When you work in the round and then you fold the cuff over, which I'm going to do this time, look, the stitch doesn't look the same. And if you don't care if it looks different or you want it to look different, that's fine. You can keep working on that and just turn your green cuff over. I want my green cuff, I'm a little bit fussy. I want my green cuff to look the same way. And so what I'm going to do is work the green cuff in backwards. So I'm going to work, instead of this way, I'm going to work the opposite way. So I'm going to put it in the first stitch that I started, and I'm going to get my yarn onto my crochet hook. And then this is not counting as a stitch, it's just getting my yarn onto my crochet hook. And I am actually going to go into that first stitch that I created and do a single crochet. And I'm going to go and do, this is the top of where I started. So the single crochet, working in the round that way, it's going to give me the desired cuff that I want. Because what it's doing is it's working the back stitch, and then that's a front stitch, and I'm going to fold it over. So the reason that this doesn't have a double stitch on it is, remember, these were the top of my chains. So this is the top of my chain, so I'm grabbing the top of the chain where I had chained to start the very first stitch. And again, I'm working back from that stitch. And it's just a single crochet, but when I get to the next round, if I want to have that back and front stitch, then I have to work the back and just in the back loop if I want to have that front loop showing the way it did. So you can see, if you want to fold it over like that, you can. And if you don't want to do the same stitch, you don't have to, because a lot of times on stockings, they use the cuff in the back in a different stitch, and they use the stocking in a different stitch to kind of give it that interest. The One thing I will say about cuffs is that you can do them a multitude of ways. You can make the cuff and attach it after. You can work the cuff down. You can make a pom-pom cuff. You can make a frill cuff. All of those cuffs I show you how to do. You can add an applique to a stocking. You can make the booty either smaller or larger. I mean the heel and the toe portion, smaller or larger. If you know how to crochet, there's a lot of different ways that you can work these stitches. So I'm back around, and what I want to do is I'm going to slip stitch into where I began, and I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to just chain one so that when I work this, now if I want to work this in the back stitch, I can. And the reason I'm going to have that nice stitch right there is I'm moving the opposite direction, so it's going to be look similar to this rather than the inside, because I added it separately. See, if you just keep working your way down and you fold it over, you're going to say, well, why does my stitch look so weird? Now, the only thing about adding the cuff before you finish and you add the cuff and you add it right to the boot like this is that you will have like a fold, and some people like the fold, and that's fine too. You can have a fold like that, but if you don't want the fold, you do the cuff separately and then you add it on after the fact, and I have a couple of videos for doing that. Whoops, we were doing back loop. So as you work in the round, you want to do five rounds, at least 5 rounds for your cuff. Now here's the deal. I do 5 rounds when I'm adding the cuff, and I don't have a lot of wrap space that I have. In other words, when you wrap this, how much is it going to take for the wrap space? You probably want to do 6 or 7 so that you have a good size cuff that you can wrap over and it's all attached in the same way. So when I get to the end here, I'll show you what I'm going to do, and then I will let you decide how wide how long you want your cuff to be. And I still have that attached because I'm not finished with that. I don't have my boot done yet on this one. Sometimes it's hard to keep the yarn from getting wrapped. Slip stitch and keep going. But here's the methodology, folks. So when you wrap this over like this, your stitch on your cuff is going to look similar to the stitch here rather than the stitch underneath. That's why you attach it after you finish this, and you attach it working the opposite direction so that you have that and you can work your cuff down another 4 rows, and then you tie off at the end, and you can add what color hook. I probably would put a green or a wine in there. But anyways, that's the way you're going to do this cuff, and you're going to keep working it down until you get it to the desired length that you want, and then tie that off. So hopefully that makes sense as to why we added that after we finished that, and we didn't just like start crocheting and then changing colors, because the pattern wouldn't look the same. Now, if you wanted to just start it like that and then just change colors, you can fold it over, but it's going to look like the inside of this and not like this. So happy holidays, and thank you for joining me on Lori's Handiwork.